Hello, and welcome to this review of some of the main features of Matlab. This could be used as an introduction to Matlab, but it might go fairly quickly through some topics that could be tricky for beginners. Previous coding experience in any case will be helpful and should help you be able to contextualize the stuff that is gone through here. In this video in particular, we will talk about the Matlab interface and how to get things set up for best success in really in any class, but particularly for this class, Math 244 at Rutgers. So the Matlab interface looks something like this. At least it does in most cases. If yours doesn't, the way you change it is by going into the Layout menu, which is here at the top of the screen. If you click on Layout and select the default layout, you'll get something that looks very similar to this. The main difference is I have the font size scaled up a lot, so that's easier to see via the YouTube video, but you can have to keep the font small when I do when I'm using my own normal stuff. So there's four main components of this interface, all of which are important to utilize and understand as you work in Matlab. The first is the editor window, which is here in the center. This window deals with all of your scripts. So scripts is Matlab's term for a program or a set of lines that are run one after another when you click a single run button. It also works with live scripts, which we'll talk about in more detail later, which are the way that we will use things for this class in particular. But they are all done in the script editor, which is this middle window here. Lets you edit, save, use, run, all of that stuff happens through this editor window here. In addition, while you have the editor window selected, like your cursor is in it like it is here, there's an extra menu at the top in this live editor button that shows up, which also has a bunch more features for particularly script editing, which will be in more detail later. The next component of the emphasis I want to go into is the Workspace component, which is over here on the right. The Workspace component will list and store all the variables you currently have defined in your Matlab session. So for instance, if I call a variable x and set it to be 2, now we see in the Workspace I have popped up an x, which is the variable name, and is stored to the value of 2, is listed there in the Workspace. This is nice for keeping track of what your variables are, what you've defined, and what you haven't defined in different program sessions that you have going on. It's good to know where this is and what this does so you can utilize it to help with your programming. The next part is the thing that I just used to do that x equals 2 thing, and that's the command window here at the bottom of the screen. The command window is useful for sort of quick checking how things work in Matlab. So if you forget how horizontal versus vertical arrays work, or how certain multiplication works, or how functions are defined, or how functions are set up, you can check it real quick in the command window before you actually put it in your script. So you can check, if I want to do an array, say 1, 2, and I want to square that, well, that's going to be a problem because in Matlab it tries to do things with matrices, and I can see that that's an issue here before I put it in my script and then see from the script that it has an error somewhere and I have to go hunt for it. So you can check and debug pretty easily in the command window. It's also useful for the help function, which we'll get to later, right? If I type help and then name a Matlab function, say det for determinant, I get a description of what it does and information there. We'll go into more of that in a later video. The last component of the window, which is potentially the most important for keeping things organized, is the directory, or the current folder over here on the left. Now that window contains what Matlab's current active directory is. What that means is that is the folder where Matlab is currently looking to find and run code. So if you want to run a script, or a live script for that matter, you have to have the active directory be the same folder where that script is located. It's also critical for if you're trying to use functions you have written in separate Matlab files and you want Matlab to find them and use them, they have to also be in the same directory that Matlab is looking at. It has to be in the current active directory for this to find the code and be able to run it. And we'll see examples of what that looks like here in a little bit. So the one thing that I would highly recommend for this class, and really for any class that you have Matlab files based in, is to make a folder exclusively for that class so that you can put all of your files in there and then just make sure that is your active directory while you're trying to run things. As you can see here, I have a folder called Math 244 Demos, and that is going to be where all this stuff is, and everything's going to be in that folder, so then I can run things from it without worrying about where things are because I know they are all in that folder. It might get messy if you have a lot of different files, but if they're all in there, Matlab can find them without a problem. Having a folder like that is super helpful to keeping things organized for this or for any class. So what do you need to get set up for this class in particular? So this class has a bunch of supplemental code files that are provided to you that you can use and will need to use to complete the labs for this course. So we want to get them and put them where they need to be so everything can run correctly. So we want to first make a folder for this particular class. So that will be this Math 244 demos folder that I have made here, or then it's going to be put. Next, you want to go to the course website, download supplemental files, extract the zip into the number of MATLAB files that are there, and put them all in this folder. I'm going to do that now, and you'll see the building now has now changed. Now, inside that demos folder, I now have a bunch more files. I've added 11 files here from the 11 files that I extracted and put into this folder. Now what that means is from this folder, I can now use any of these files and MATLAB will find the method and be able to run it. So for instance, I could type something like that in the command window, this phase line, which is one of the functions that we see up here, and it works. It runs, it found the function, it knows how to run it, it grabs it and puts it here. Fantastic. Now, if I were to change folders and be not in the correct directory, for instance, I switch to this other folder that I have that does not have this function in it, and now I try to run it, it can't find the function. MATLAB is smart and finds it elsewhere, which it did nicely here, but it tells you that it can't find the function where it is. So you need to be careful that you're in the right directory when you run these things, and that's why it is good to have a singular folder where you put all of the files, so you know they're all there, and can run the files from it as you go. Let's switch back again, and now see that it works just like it should, like normal. So as long as the active directory is where these files are located, everything will run and find it just fine. So once you have this set up, then you're good to work in any of the labs that you want. So then you would go back to the course main page and download the format file, which for here I'm going to say is this demo live script file, but you're going to want to put it again in this same folder. You can then open the file, which will show up here in your window, and solve the lab like you want to, like you need to. So as long as everything's in the same folder and that folder is the MATLAB active directory, MATLAB will find the methods, run them, and everything will be great. So there's the basic setup of the interface and how to get it organized and arranged and having a folder for your files. That'll be the best way to get things set up for this class. Future videos go into more detail of how different components work, different coding structures, and the particulars that you will be needed to actually solve the lab. But this is just the overview of how to get MATLAB best set up, get you on the right foot to be able to handle the MATLAB assignments for this class.